Hi friend, I am Leigh Keckner. Welcome to day number 10 of Simply Manifesting 33 days to getting your heart's desire. If you would join me in 3 grounding breaths so we can all just kind of calm our minds down a little bit and get into the present moment. If you would uncross your legs and put your feet on the floor, put your hands down to get grounded or up to receive, and we'll breathe in through our nose for 4, and we'll breathe out through our mouth for 6. So in through your nose, 1, 2, 3, 4, and out of your mouth for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we'll do it in through your nose and out through your mouth. In through your nose and out through your mouth. Thank you. Somebody left a note on one of the other videos that if you do your exhale just a little bit longer than your inhale, so maybe count of 4 and 6, it calms your mind even more. So I tried that today, but it was hard to count through it and do it. So something to work with when you're taking your calming breaths. All right, you guys, our talk today is limiting beliefs, which is basically a thought you hold in your head that keeps you from living your full life. And this is paramount today because you know right now we're just wrapping up building the foundation where we can spring forward and manifest what we want. Limiting beliefs. Getting this concept is paramount to manifesting. W. Somerset Maugham wrote this quote or said this: if you change your beliefs, if you don't change your beliefs, your life will be like this forever. Is that good news? I'm going to read it one more time since I jumbled it a bit. If you don't change your beliefs, your life will be like it is right now forever. Is that good news? You can answer that question for yourself. Is that good news? Are you happy where you are? Or are you wanting more? Like myself, I bet you're wanting more because that's why we're doing this program together. That's what we want to manifest more in our life. What you believe has gotten you exactly where you are right now. If you aren't digging that, your beliefs need to shift. So it's basically that simple. What you believe, what you think is your reality. So if we want to rise up, we have to rise up and flip our thoughts that we hold. William Shakespeare said, "There is no good or bad, but thinking makes it so." And what I love about that is when I was in spirit school, I call it, when I got my master's in spiritual psychology a few years ago, people would stand up and share about their childhood. And I shared I was neglected, my mother didn't really touch me or hold me, and I formed this little thought that I was unworthy and I didn't matter, and I put that little pebble on top of my head, and I lived under that thought, and I behaved as a person who was unworthy by making out, drinking too much, running fast and wild, and all that kind of stuff. To support my thought that I created when I was 7. So we all have these little pebbles that we have. And I remember when we were in this class, everyone would stand up and share whenever they felt moved to share. And people would stand up and say, I was physically abused, my father beat me. And at the beginning of class, we were like, oh my gosh, that's horrible, right? But as we kept hearing just words coming out of people's mouths and realizing that we all had trauma in our childhood, we all had setbacks, we all had heartaches, all of a sudden they just became words. So at the end of the year, when a girl stood up and shared, I was gang raped, and then my mother kicked me out of my home because she was ashamed of me. Now, if you would have told us that at the beginning of school, we all would have gone, oh my gosh, I feel so bad for her, and had all of the judgments that was horrible. And then she would have become a victim, and we would perpetuate this whole thing that we do. And instead what we thought was, wow, you have some really interesting material to work with, to learn from, to overcome, and then to help others with. So recognizing that we all have these stories, we all have these thoughts, we just say them with different words in different situations, but we all have these times where we created limiting beliefs. So we're holding these beliefs from our childhood, but yet we're still holding them as adults and they don't really fit anymore. We don't need those stories or those limiting beliefs. Actually, you can't keep them and move forward and manifest. Examine all the thoughts that you are holding of lack or unworthiness. So think about a thought that you hold from your childhood, that you didn't matter, you weren't good enough, that is still in your body, in your thoughts, because that little thought is keeping you from being all that you are to be, who you were created to be, and all of your greatness. Okay, I'm going to say something, and then I'll point to you, and I want you to repeat this out loud. I created where I am today with my thoughts, conditioning, beliefs, and actions. I created where I am today with my thoughts, conditioning, beliefs, and actions. I am ready to shift the belief out of negative and into positive. I am ready to shift the belief out of negative and into positive, out of darkness and into light, out of darkness and into light, so that I may allow myself to move forward powerfully, so that I may allow myself to move forward powerfully. We create a belief when we're little, a pebble. Mine was unworthiness. I don't matter. You have one as well, whatever your story was that you are still holding today to be true. I'm going to tell you 3 steps and then give you 2 examples of how I shifted it. There's 3 steps to shifting a limiting belief. 1 is to identify it, and we'll do that today and write it down. 2 is to acknowledge that it is just a thought, it's not real. It's just an obstacle and a block that we're holding on to keep us from moving forward, but it's not real. And then the last one is to take action with the new thought. Okay, so if you would right now, identify a thought that you're holding. I'm not good enough, I'm not qualified, I'm not smart enough, I'm not skinny enough, I'm not ready, I'm too busy, I procrastinate. I mean, whatever the limiting belief is, that is a thought, write that down. So if I was going to write one down, I would write down unworthiness, right? Or I would write down, I'm not an expert. I remember when I was going to do my first workshop, and right before I went out to do it, I had this thing like, who the hell do you think you are? You're not qualified to do this. You're a joke. And all these thoughts came that were attached to my limiting belief from my childhood. Okay, so once you have your thought, write it down. Mine would be, I'm not an expert, or I'm not qualified to be an expert. Okay, then look at that thought on paper. Look at that limiting belief that you have been telling yourself to keep you stuck. Acknowledge that it's just a thought that you created and it's not real. Now we're going to flip it. So whatever the thought is, I'm not an expert, I'm going to flip it right now. I am an expert. I am worthy. I do know what the hell I'm talking about. So that quickly we can shift from, oh my gosh, I'm nervous, I'm about to do this thing on limiting beliefs. What do I believe about limiting beliefs? Like, we could go down that path. I could, sometimes I do. Or you could say, I am an expert, I do know what the hell I'm talking about, right? So whatever you wrote down, right now flip it. If you wrote down, I'm unworthy, I am worthy. Oh my gosh, even energetically in your body, I'm unworthy is this, I am worthy. Just even that lights you up and lets you, that feeling is different. And then once you flip it, I want you to take action with that new belief. All right, so here's 2 examples that I did that. I just gave one. The very first time I did a workshop, right before I went up, my limiting belief roared so big. You're unworthy. What the hell do you think you're doing? You're not, they don't, this is going to be a big joke. So that came up so strong, and I took a breath and I said, wait a second. I'm here. This is meant to happen. They did show up to see me. I am worthy to do this. And I literally took that limiting thought and crashed it, smashed it, crushed it, and let it fall on the floor. And then I walked forward and I said, welcome everyone, I'm so happy you're here. And I started talking. And so in that moment, I shifted. I do know what the hell I'm doing. I'm an expert, and I owned it, and I moved forward in a powerful way with it. So that can't ever be part of my story again, because I did it, even though it felt scary. The other thing is that I just did the other day, I had a story for 25 years that I'm not an actor, because one time I auditioned for something and I was so nervous I couldn't speak, and I sat down and the casting director said, I said, can I sit down? I can't breathe. I sat down, and then she goes, so Leigh, how are you? How do you know Gail? And I go, can I leave? I don't even want to be here. I hate this. And she said, yeah, you can go. And I left, and I had this story for 25 years. I'm not an actor. That's not for me. I can't do that. I don't have to do everything. I can't do that. And then the other day, Dave was going to give me a part with no words. I had to just walk on and off. And then he found out it had words. And then they called me. I had to go audition, and I had to face this fear in front of this huge casting director. He casts Modern Family, Jeffrey Greenberg. And I had to walk into his office, and I felt so vulnerable. Then I was like, oh, give me a break. It's just a man, and these are just words. Who gives a shit? Just do it. And I allowed myself to drop the story of I'm not an actor. I did it. I did my lines with him. He worked with me, and I got the part. You guys, that was so huge, not because I got a little speaking part, but because I've been holding this limiting belief to keep me from that avenue. The belief I'm not an actor wasn't real. It's bullshit. Because I can do and choose and be whatever the hell I want to be. Right? So think about your beliefs, flip it, and then move forward with it. Audition anyway. Do the workshop anyway. Get up in front of people. Because then all of a sudden you go, wait a minute, I'm powerful beyond measure, and that was just a thought that's not real. All right, so those are the 2 times that I crushed a limiting belief, and I'm sure more are going to pop up to try and support my old story of unworthiness, and I'm just going to keep crushing them and keep crushing them and keep crushing them. And then each time I do, I realize how powerful I am. And I just encourage you to remember that you have to shift inside if you want the outside to shift. If you want this to be different, this has to be different. Identify your limiting beliefs. They're not real. You have no limitations. All right. My quote today is, I created where I am with my thoughts. Therefore, I am shifting my thoughts so that I may shift my life. Shift your life. I wanted to say mother effas. I don't know why. Dear God, thank you that in a moment we can shift our life with one new choice. With identifying the thing that's holding us back, we can shift it. We can be gentle with it and let it go and move forward in a powerful way. Please keep waking us up, opening our mind and hearts, and use us to be of service to make the world a better place. Amen. Thank you guys so much for joining. I will see you tomorrow on day number 11. I love the number 11. Okay, and then that means we're a third of the way through tomorrow, and then we're going to start actually manifesting stuff rather than just setting the foundation. But the foundation is the springboard that we can go from. So make sure that you are doing this work, you're honoring yourself, you're being gentle with yourself. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow.